And we are live on the Icecast Live. My name is Shane Chebsey, and next to me is Olly McMcREA. How you doing, Olly?
Very good. School broke up, long weekend ahead, and 2 weeks off. So how do you think I feel?
Oh, 2 weeks, bloody hell! I get a couple of days actually. In this current job that I'm doing, yeah, which is more than I used to get in my old job. It was
right.
You will work through Easter, So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to go and see a couple of people that I'm allowed to go and see.
Yes, of course.
It's still not sort of open season for social life, is it? But you can sort of, if you're clever enough, go and. Got any plans? You got any plans for Easter, mate?
Just a lot of bike riding. I got my, and I know John's a big bike rider, but I got my bike serviced for the first time in 8 years. So it feels like having a brand new bike. So I'm going on a big ride tomorrow, and just whenever I can, just get out and about and see a bit of Birmingham. It's a lovely city. It is. It's my second home. It is. Yeah.
So yeah, tonight you mentioned John. Yeah, our guest tonight. For those who don't know and who maybe can't see the ticker at the bottom or haven't heard the news, we're talking to John McCREA tonight, predominantly about his new stuff, but also about some of his old stuff as well. Because John's career is pretty impressive, isn't it, Olly?
Yeah, it goes back. Is he old enough to be called a legend yet?
I think I don't know. I can see him in the studio rubbing his head and shaking his head, and I don't think he's quite comfortable with the term legend yet.
Okay, so rookie artist John McCREA.
Yeah. Well, legend sort of, there's this connotation with legend, isn't it? That it's in the past.
New term. Maybe by the end of the program we can come up with that new term. Someone in between rookie and legend.
Good challenge, mate. Good challenge.
Evergreen John McCREA. There we go.
He does look good for his age.
Definitely.
For his age. I've always thought that. Okay, so without any further ado, let's play the VT, Sam, and we'll get straight into it.
Let's have it.
Let's have it. And welcome, John, to the Icecast. How you doing, mate?
Not bad for a washed-up old hack.
Or legend.
Evergreen
I
legend.
prefer washed-up old hack.
Lost my mic. That was.
Shane's got so excited he's knocked his camera off by the looks of things.
Yeah. My mic just.
It's not your mic that's the problem, mate. I'll tell you that.
Was my camera gone as well?
No.
You're frozen.
I think I do this to people. So I do.
Oh yeah, it's saying I've lost connection.
We can hear you. Don't do it. You can still
you can hear me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can. How are you anyway, John?
I'm fine, thanks, Olly.
Yeah.
I'm not too bad. Busy, which is nice.
Yeah, that's good.
But like you say, Easter break is here and everyone's at home. And it only felt like we got the kids back to school, and I felt like, oh, great, I can actually have a bit of time to do some work. And then 3 days later, it felt like the home they were again.
Definitely,
he's back. There he is.
Back. Can't get rid of me.
But yeah, things are fine.
Good. And you're looking forward for the weekend. You able to relax at all, or have you got a lot on the boards?
That's the thing you ask any comic artist and or a writer, I presume, or any creative, I suppose. They just, when you're relaxing, there's always at the back of your mind you're thinking about your work, and you're trying to nod off to sleep or something, and you're thinking, how can I draw that panel better?
Yes.
It's really annoying me how that panel, it's not quite right. So, yeah, I mean, like you said yourself, Olly, you're going to be getting the bike out. I'll doubtless be going out for a ride or two over the weekend. Yeah. How many miles are you doing?
It depends. I mean, I like to do from the city centre of Birmingham. There's a good route out towards Sandwell Valley and back through again. And of course, this time of year, it's a lovely part of Birmingham you get to see. So we tend to go up through sort of the Soho Road and through Smethwick, and then we drop down onto Sandwell Valley, and then follow the canal back into town. And of course, you get to see a lot of hidden graffiti that's been there since the 90s. So it's a bit of a treasure hunt for people like me. So it's very enjoyable. And like you say, it's just nice to get out of the house and breathe a bit of fresh air.
For sure. Yeah. Rachel and I tend to do the canal routes ourselves. Head up towards Walsall along the canal. And then
lovely,
yeah. But yes, you get
similar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Sandwell Valley, that sort of thing. It's all connected, isn't it? All the big green lung of Birmingham. So yeah. It's not so bad, Birmingham. Gets a bad rep.
It really does. Yeah, it's certainly getting there now, slowly but surely. But I think over the next 10 years, it's certainly going to blossom even further.
Yeah. Absolutely. So
we're not here to talk about Birmingham, though, are we, John?
I thought that's what I signed up for.
A Birmingham podcast. Well, there is a Birmingham link. There is a Birmingham link because obviously Ice is predominantly a Birmingham show, and this is the Ice cast. So I don't mind talking about Birmingham. I think that's pretty nice. Most of the people who watch this have at one time or another visited the city and come to the show. And may have even met you, John, at a con. So
probably so. Yeah. I mean, I think I've lived in Birmingham now longer than I lived in Northern Ireland.
Really?
I moved over when I was. Oh God, it's so. Is it? I can't think. I moved over when I was about 23.
Really?
And I'm now. So,
a washed up has been.
hey, hack, not has been.
Hack, sorry.
You're taking liberties there, Ollie.
I'm see you. That's it. I'm gone.
Where's feeling
how to make friends and influence people.
Yeah, insult your guests when they come on. So you obviously born in Northern Ireland, John, and moved over when you were 23. Was that related to work? Was that related to working in comics?
Well, yes and no. Obviously, I had my eye on sort of moving over because the London was down there, and I originally wanted to move to London when I was in my teens, and but then I quickly grew to realize how big and filthy and horrible it was, really. So I was then going to go to Sheffield, actually, because a lot of my comic friends were from Sheffield, like the late Cy Spencer and I was really good friends with Cy and a couple of friends of his, Adrian and Mary, who ran a little self-published comic called Sideshow Comics.
Right.
And Nick Abadzis and I would nip up and see Cy and Adrian and Mary all the time. And we did some work for Sideshow. I think Sideshow was probably the first. I mean, a lot of people ask me when I was first published, and I think the first paying work I got was Centurions for London Editions, based in Manchester. But I think working for them was probably my first actual published gig, I think, or maybe it was Blam for that free newspaper that the Heartbreak Hotel guys did. I can't, it all blurs.
And
my memory's shit now anyway. So.
Well, at least I remember coming to Birmingham.
So I was moving over for friendship, but also I kind of got fairly sick of Belfast, and it was really, it wasn't even it was boring. I found Belfast boring. It was very, very monoculture and very sort of parochial. And I just, at the time, it's changed. So many, like everywhere's changed. But and when I go back to Belfast, I can barely recognize half of it. But that doesn't mean it's not better. So that's what I was after. I was after a change of pace, and then I bumped into Rachel at a comic convention, and she was moving to Birmingham, and Sheffield got chucked in the head, and I moved to Birmingham instead. And so that was that. Ditched my friends.
Yeah, as you do. As you do.
Some sort of fucking friend I was. But,
I've met someone, guys. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not the only guy to ever do that, mate. You know?
No, probably not. Probably not.
Definitely not.
Yes, I'm sure there's a very rude term for it that I'm not going to say because obviously Rachel would probably slap me stupid.
Yeah, you still want to be living in Birmingham next week, don't you?
Yeah. Anyway, let's move along.
Yeah, let's move on. Yeah. So it wasn't long after that, I guess, that you became friends with Garth Ennis, because you're earlier.
Oh, no. I became friends. I'd known Garth long before that.
Right.
Because I opened Belfast's first comic shop. And Dark Horizons. And Shane, I'm disappointed if you obviously haven't read The Mighty World of McCREA, which has got the whole blow by blow account of the
I obviously need to. So there's an opportunity there to, let's plug the book. So that chronicles obviously your early life and when you met Garth, and so how?
Well, Garth went to the same school as me. Garth went to the same school as me. He was in my brother's year, my younger brother's year, and obviously that's some of my stuff. God, oh no!
Blast from the past. Wow.
Move on, Sam. John's gone
Cries.
We all start somewhere, mate. We all start somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, Well,
you were very young to start a comic shop, though, weren't you, John? I mean, that's entrepreneurial, that is.
Yeah, I mean, Belfast had nothing. I bought my comics from the UK from a guy called Bob Smart, who then went on to open Fantasy World. What was it? Fantasy World, a series of shops, and. I kept a diary. I kept a very, very dull diary at the time, and there would always be these notes in it where I would say things like Bob Smart today, it was great, and my brothers always thought that was a euphemism for
especially you said going to visit Fantasy World.
Fantasy World, great.
Yes, exactly. Yes, so I couldn't wait to tear it open, and there wasn't much about, and but there was a record shop called Good Vibrations, which was run by Terry Hooley. Which, if you've seen the Good Vibrations movie, the film of the same name, he was the guy who discovered the undertones and various others. And he gave them their first break on Good Vibes record label, and I was buying my punk records. Me and my mate Fred, who started the comic shop with me, we were buying our punk records off Terry, and we were planning to have a stall at the local at St. George's Market, probably, and to sell comics. We figured, but we were doing it because we wanted cheap comics. And so we figured if we bought them bulk from Titan and flogged off the extra that we didn't want, we'd get our comics cheap. And we're sitting there chatting away with Terry about how we're going to do this. And Terry says, you can just open a shop, and we've got a wee back room there. You can have it for free. You don't have to pay me any rent. And you move in there. So we're like gift horse mouth. And so we did. And we ran out of there for a while. I mean, it was fun, and obviously one of my customers was, I had a bunch of Will Simpson shopped with us and also signed with us. PJ Holden shopped with us, and Garth did as well. So we had a number of people through the door, who went on to become. But anybody who wanted to break into comics knew that I was, certainly as a writer, knew I was starting to get work. I had got a couple of jobs for British Marvel by this point, because while I was running the shop, I was traveling over to London, taking the terrible Lawrence Stranraer ferry and then the horrible 10-hour bus down to London with my portfolio crammed under my arm. I was just on Twitter a while ago, and fuck's sake, what's his name? The artist, oh my God, I'm so bad with names. But he was saying how he was talking about breaking into comics, and he was saying if you haven't got a war story, well then where's your where's your balls? You're not if you haven't fought for it. Well, then it's not. Nobody's just going to hand it to you on a plate.
No,
so
well, they're not.
So I was doing that. That was kind of my. I mean, I remember sitting on that bloody bus with my big folder. My big folder under my arm and some fat bloke on my shoulder, asleep, drooling down my sleeve, and going, one day I'm going to be rich and famous, and I'm going to fly everywhere. Sadly, it never happened. But anyway, the shop was helped me from that, and that's
a good networking point. A good point.
It was good. It was good to it's good to understand what a comic shop owner has to go through to survive, and it's not easy being a comic shop owner. And that was then when it was easier, and now
rent.
Oh my God! I mean, we didn't have any rent. Yes, well, we did. We after a while we moved to another location. Because we needed a bigger shop. And so we did have rent then, but we never made a dime ever. No, it was always a sort of just about break even or lose money. I mean, I remember when the second Batman movie came out, and we had ordered about maybe 30 copies of the first Batman graphic novel tying in with the movie, and it sold out within about a day or two.
Wow!
And so the second one came out, and a great creative team on it as well. The second one, I think it was Jerry Ordway, was it, or was that the first one?
That was the first one, Jerry Ordway. I remember that one. Yeah.
So it was Rodolfo DiMaggio on the second one, then I think.
Quite possibly. I remember picking up the Ordway one.
Yeah. And so we ordered like over 100 of those, and I think it sold like 10 copies.
Oh, no.
So for us, so we were totally, and of course it was all you pay in advance. You don't, so you've just got a big pile of,
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? With the direct market. I mean, back then, I assume it was Titan you were dealing with, who later became part of Diamond. But the process is still the same, isn't it? You have as a retailer, you've got to order in advance. There's no, you're basically you're gambling, aren't you? Every time.
Yeah, it's a gamble. Yeah, it's all gambling. I mean, if I'd been smart, I'd have got into futures or something like that, and at least gambled with somebody else's money and maybe made some. But as it was, I was just gambling with my own money on comics.
Now you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous.
So anyway, but it was good. I understand the business a bit, and from a retailer's point of view, and have every sympathy for them, and how much work and risk and bullshit they have to go through. So it's good to have that overview to a degree. I've never worked behind the scenes as publishing, or at least not until I did The Mighty World of McCREA, and now I have much respect for publishers too.
That went really well, didn't it, John? I mean, you did that on Kickstarter, didn't you?
Yeah, it went really well, and I think it got 30 odd grand, but then and everybody goes, 30 grand, that's a shitload of money. And then you have to publish it, and the printing comes out, and the Kickstarter fee comes out, and then I have to pay Ryan Hughes for all his beautiful design work. I have to pay all the editors, the people who were helping edit it, and my Kat Hemmings, my sort of fabulous assistant who did great work on it. And and after you've done all that, you're sort of going, where's that 30 grand? I'm sure I left it around here somewhere.
Gets eaten up, doesn't it? Totally eaten.
Yeah. I mean, I made a few pennies, and I cannot complain. And it was very interesting. And I've got a nice book to show for it, I feel.
Yeah.
But but yeah, it's not easy. So I kind of understand. It's good to understand all sort of sides of things and give everything a go, I reckon. So
yeah.
Anyway.
But it wouldn't put you off it again, because I do
No, I'm
believe
doing it again.
yeah, I was going to say. I mean, is that sooner rather than later, that Kickstarter, or have you got plans to launch it at a later date?
Well, I am doing the second volume, and I'm working it out at the moment.
Right.
But I'm doing another Kickstarter before the Mighty World of McCREA Volume 2, which I can't talk about at the moment.
Oh, okay.
But it's going to be soon. It's like literally, I'll be announcing it within the next couple of weeks.
Oh, really?
I just have to get confirmation of a few odds and sods. So I'm a glutton for punishment, it seems. But
but you
yeah,
learn
so I'm
from
doing
your
that.
mistakes.
Pardon?
I'm assuming you learn. Obviously, it's a learning curve, isn't it? So I imagine you can iron out any wrinkles in this second Kickstarter for your second volume, and hopefully make a bit more than a tenner.
Yes. Have you been dipping into my account? Are you hacking me, Ollie? That's uncannily accurate.
You're going through your bins.
Yeah, remember that craze when the paparazzi used to go into people's bins? I still do that. Nice.
It's where he gets all his sources, where he gets all his information. Yeah. It's the only reason I have him on.
It's good to know. Good to know.
Literally raking in the muck.
I'll be burning all my paperwork from now on. I'm doing. Yes, you do. I've learned a lot about it and sort of a lot of the pitfalls. I mean, we really got stung on postage. That was the nightmare, really, the postage aspect of things. And of course, with Brexit and the pandemic, that hasn't been made any easier. I'm not looking forward to the postage has pretty much doubled since Brexit. So thanks for that.
Especially to the States.
So,
I assumed you had a few people who pledged from America, and it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, it was about maybe 50%, was American orders. And then maybe 30-20 of UK and Europe, and assorted others. So it was an international sort of thing. But yeah, the biggest orders were from the States, and that's to be expected. And with this one, through various reasons, I've managed to sort of lower the price of the actual product. Because mainly because I know that the postage is going up, and so I've had to kind of try to do the sliding scale so that it kind of doesn't kill people to order it from America. I mean, I've looked into drop shipping and all that, and it's a logistical nightmare.
I've looked at that myself. It's not practical a lot of the time.
No, it's not practical, and it's the control element of it. I mean, I want a nice product at the end of it, and with somebody in the UK, and I like to support local printers as well, and so I'm using UK comic printing, UK printing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, CPOC. CPOC, yes. God, I'm so terrible at remembering names. It's so awful. So I'm using him, but then you would have to use somebody else for the States, and then you would have to try and keep an eye on the quality of the printing, and it's just a huge extra problem that I don't want to get involved in. So
don't blame
you.
So I said I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So going backwards a little bit, I want to talk about some of your work in the past. Obviously, you've done stuff for 2000 AD, some for Marvel UK. When did you sort of break into the American scene? Was that when you did Demon?
Well, yes and no. Again, I had actually done a little bit of stuff for Epic. When Dave Elliott was doing some of the, and Steve White were doing some of the Epic line, and they were publishing a lot of dinosaur books. And this was this was pretty much when I was working, early in 2000 AD, relatively early, I think. And so I did a couple of dinosaur stories for those guys. I mean, they knew I was a dinosaur nut anyways. And
we all?
Yeah, true. I mean, I've never met a person who yes, true. Okay. I've met a lot of women who couldn't give a shit about dinosaurs. Fair point. It's like Dark Star, isn't it? No woman likes Dark Star. Absolutely not.
Of course, now we're going to get loads of comments from women saying, "What are you talking about?"
Well, that's good. Need engagement, don't we?
That would be good.
It's controversy. Gets the clicks, doesn't it, Shane? So let's get the Dark Star controversy on the go. So I did that, and then I worked for 2000. Continued working for 2000. It was all, if you remember, mainly painted work at that time, and I was painting all these pages. I can't bear painting. It's not my thing. I didn't get into comics to be a painter, and I'm not a natural painter, and every page was a struggle, and so I met up with Archie Goodwin at one of the early UCACs, and Archie had said to me that he wanted me to do something with him, and it was with James Hudnall, if you remember old James. Yeah, James and I, hung out at a lot of shows, and he was an interesting guy. Let's put it that way. James was, so we were going to do something together, and Archie says to me, "Yes, it's a series of 3 prestige format books. You'll be doing one of them, John, and of course it's fully painted." And I just wept. I just wept. I was like, no, I wanted to move to DC to get away from the painting. Yeah. Oh God, and I was straight back into it. So that was Streets, and I did that, and then straight after Streets, it was Into the Demon. With Garth.
And I bet that was fun as well, because that was, I remember reading that, and your Demon was just like so different to what had gone before. It was a real breath of fresh air, mate.
Well, I had obviously looked at the previous, people often sort of ask me about the Demon, and I always have to confess that I never actually read the Jack Kirby books. At all, ever. Been before drawing the Demon, I'd never read them, and I'm a Kirby fan. I just never got to the Demon for whatever reason. I've looked at it now and read it now, but not then. But I have looked at the Alan Grant and Val Zemeckis stuff. And while great team, I did think that the Demon had become a bit of a cuddly sort of. He looked a bit like a Sesame Street character more than a demon, as far as I was concerned. And I
started to get too friendly, wasn't he?
Yeah, Garth and I both agreed on that. So Garth said, "I'll do my thing to make him less friendly," and I said, "I'll do mine." So we did that, and it seemed to work. I mean, it was just balls to the wall fun. We had a laugh. I mean, I remember enjoying myself immensely drawing it and not worrying too much. I mean, life was different back then, of course. It was pre-kids. I spent a chunk of time while I was drawing the Demon living in Hong Kong, which was, and I would, my schedule when I was there was get up in the morning, pencil and ink a page, have lunch.
You were doing it pretty quick then.
and then I would spend the rest of the day with Rachel goofing around Hong Kong, just having a great time. It was great. Just what? And I look back at that and just go, how is that even feasible to do a page of pencils and inks before lunch?
I guess you were just really fluid, then with your style. Like you say, you felt like you didn't have any worries. You were really confident in what you were doing.
I think
you just then, can't you?
Yeah, I wasn't a washed up hack, I guess. Yeah.
I think time feels a bit slower when you're younger anyway. I do think you can achieve more, whether it's before lunchtime or before hitting the bars in Hong Kong. Nowadays, I just don't think there's enough time.
Were you there too, Ollie?
He was following you back there.
Rubbish.
Just making notes on the back of a beer mat. Yeah.
And of course, after the Demon, it was Hitman, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, because we previewed Hitman in the Demon, and
the annual, wasn't he? His first appearance was in the Demon annual, I think.
That's right, yeah, which was the big crossover, Bloodlines crossover, where DC were just like, let's throw a lot of new ideas at the wall and see what sticks. And Garth sort of suggested to me we'd do a Hitman follow-up, and the thing, they had done a bunch of Bloodlines comics, Anima and
lots of stuff that no one remembers.
I can remember Anima, but the one I did remember specifically was Gunfire. And no disrespect to the Gunfire team, which was Marv Wolfman wrote it, and I can't remember who drew it, quite frankly, but it was terrible. It was just terrible, and I said to Garth, and it lasted 12 issues, I think, and I said to Garth, if we can't make a comic that lasts longer than Gunfire, then I think I'm going to retire. I'm going to friggin' retire. So fortunately for me and my sort of hypocrisy meter, we did last longer than Gunfire, said Gunfire. And in fact, we got to put Gunfire in the comic too.
Yeah.
Yes, which was the infamous Gunfire 1 million scene, which was a lot of fun to do.
And of course, in Hitman, through some of the stories, you got to draw more dinosaurs as well. And I remember lots of dinosaur death. Yes.
I mean, Garth basically wrote that in for me. He's just like, I knew you like. It was like a parent with a small adult child, perhaps, and he would pat me in the head and go, "There, John. I know you like those big dinosaurs, so I'm going to write some in for you. There you go." And I would go, "Thanks, Garth. Gee whiz, this is great." So,
I think they were some of my favorite issues, to be honest. I could tell you were having fun. Do you know what I mean? I mean, people didn't just get eaten; they got devoured. And there were arms and legs and everything.
Yeah. I was particularly fond of the splash page where the big T-Rex bursts through the wall and there's a guy in a bath, and the T-Rex eats the entire bath with the guy in it, and all you see is the bath going down its gullet with the guy in it, and the eyes staring out in horror as it disappears, as he disappears down the gullet of this giant T-Rex.
What did the script say on that? Did it just say, "John, go for it"?
No, I think Garth specified the bath.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, Garth knows what he likes. I mean, this is a guy who grew up reading Flesh, so I mean, so he's as much as wanted to put those dinosaurs in as well.
He did. He drew them, didn't he? That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big tribute to Flesh, the whole thing. Anyway, that whole. Yeah. Was it 3 issues? Did we manage to grind it out?
3 issues. Yeah, it was definitely more than a couple. But
but it was just a big super. Oh, that's very nice of Kevin to say so.
You are apparently a legend, John. We can't get out of it anymore.
Oh, dear God! Right. So yes, I mean, Garth, we just had a laugh with that book. I mean, as much as we were. DC tried to keep a lid on us, and they did. We still got away with so much that I cannot imagine we could possibly get away with now. Within the mainstream comic. I mean, obviously, if we were to do something for Image or what have you, you can get away with pretty much anything you want, or Avatar or something like that. You can do pretty much all you want, but to do it within the Bat universe. It was quite a miracle, really, that we got away with as much as we did.
I mean, Batman appeared, Superman. I remember the Superman issue actually, and it was a really poignant story. I really liked it. It was, you were expecting it to just be taking the piss out of Superman, like they took the piss out of Superman.
It never does cease to amaze me anytime I talk about this that Garth is a big Superman fan. Out of all the superheroes, that's the one he likes. I mean, for me, it's almost the complete diametric opposite in that I don't mind Superman, but I find him an absolute pig to draw. I think recently I've done a couple of commissions for people of Superman, and I felt like they weren't bad. But he's so clean cut and nice and super goody and Boy Scouty that there's just nothing for me to hang my sort of generally nasty sort of style on, and I just don't. I don't really.
You can't really draw a nasty curl, can you?
No, not really, Ollie. No.
It is tricky. I mean, your style. You do change your style. I noticed that to suit different types of work.
True.
And which is great because it's versatility. But I think your natural
desperation, you'll find Shane.
I love your honesty, mate. I love it. What was it? I've gone off track now.
Changing styles on the projects, different projects, different styles appropriate.
For your natural, inclination, as it were, would be, I would say, more stuff like, Dix and Hitman. The more sort of stylized approach. I think the more sort of cartoony you go, it looks like you're having more fun. Would you say that was fair?
Oh, absolutely. That's the way I lean. It's just you find that if you want to make a career, it's much harder doing it with this sort of stuff than it is doing a more realistic sort of style. People want realism in their comics, which is like which is an oxymoron, if ever. But so that's the way the industry leans. But drawing stuff like this, I mean, is just super fun. It's just taking the most ridiculous aspects and just going all out on it. So I would lean more towards that. But I guess Hitman was kind of a balance where we had the out there absurd ridiculousness paired with actually quite brutal action and also very soul searching and poignant storylines. And more so as it went along, obviously.
As you got to know the characters more. I mean, there was some of those later issues that honestly brought me to tears. Some of the dialogue, and it was so sensitively. I mean, you could see there that you were pushing yourself as well, because there was some real sensitive stuff in there, some real good sort of acting from the characters. And it wasn't.
Honestly, Gary Leach had a lot to do with that, because often I would just draw a circle and say, "Put face here, Gary," and then Gary would draw it for me while I went to the bar.
What an artist Gary Leach is, I mean,
honestly, there was one issue of Hitman. It was Katie's story where Tommy meets his sister, and then everything goes to hell, of course. And then you get this flashback sequence where it's set in a nunnery. And it's like 4 pages of nuns talking, and I had been drawing for quite a while. It's a monthly grind, and we were putting a lot of effort in. And I drew the first 2 pages of nuns, and then I just collapsed. And I rang up Gary and I said, "Gary, can you just draw the last 2 pages? I just can't fucking draw any more nuns at all." It's really so. Gary just drew them for me, and I was just like, "Oh, thanks, Gary. God bless you. You're a savior." That was killing me. So I mean, if it had been comedy nuns, no problem. But it was serious nuns.
And who likes serious nuns? They're the worst kind of nuns.
That's a no-go. We comedy nuns with
all the problems in the world could have been caused by serious nuns.
There's probably some truth to
that. Death comes a close second, but serious nuns the biggest killer.
We've got a little comment from Chris Ball. Hiya, Chris. Green Lantern doesn't have any pockets to pay for his pints.
Green tightwad. I'm with you, Chris. He's a jip, that guy. Doesn't get his rind in.
Surely he can just create money out of his green power ring and just leave him to dissolve away when he's left.
That's a bit tight, though, isn't it? That's robbing the pub.
Yeah. Well, you remember, if you remember in that Tommy reads Green Lantern's mind, and he said it's a pretty quick read. So I guess Green Lantern didn't actually think of that, Ollie. Maybe if Tommy had read your mind, he would have gone, this guy's a reasonably smart fella.
I like the use of reasonably, yeah.
I love the way. Go on, sorry, go on, Ollie.
So I was going to say, John, because you mentioned like the daily, the monthly grind. Do you enjoy where you are maybe now, where you can dip into projects like you did Yondu with Marvel last year? And because that was a mini series, that allowed you to flex your sci-fi muscles. And also have some great covers by Cully Hamner, I noticed. Is that a nice place to be, where you can dip into certain projects for different companies and maybe work with characters you've not worked on a lot in the past?
I'm desperately wondering if whether I should be honest with you here, Ollie, or not. But honestly, I'll take what I can get. It's not so much me going to Marvel and saying, hey, I'm kind of needing a bit of work, and just sling me something now, Marvel, would you? It's more of sort of, Jesus, have you got anything for me, Marvel? Please, God. and after that Yondu series, of course, we went into lockdown, I think, and I had very little work for guts of a year. So, which is why I did the Mighty World of McCREA. It was partly, I mean, I'd always intended to do the book. It was there in my mind, and I was sort of humming and hawing about it. And then the pandemic came along and sort of made up my mind for me. And you'll have noticed that there were a big uptick in Kickstarters from comic creators.
There was.
And that's because everybody was feeling that, except for John Romita Jr. or what have you, who was perfectly fine. Thank you very much. But for us B-listers and possible scraping and top C-lister like myself, it was more of a, this is a necessity to get me through this this year. As it turned out, I did a lot of commissions, and God bless all those people who paid me for commissions. They kept the food on the table, the wolf from the door. So I appreciate them all very much.
You also have always seem to have a very well-stocked online shop. I notice you've got Carnage pages at the moment online in your shop. And of course, you must have overprinted on the Mighty World of McCREA, because you've got copies of that still available as well, I believe.
Oh, I'd have been a fool not to overprint a bit.
Yeah.
I've definitely got an eye on when conventions start happening again, that I'll be able to take a bunch of those along with me to conventions and, strong arm anybody who hasn't bought a copy. Is just sort of threaten them basically into buying a copy of me.
Anyone who's left who hasn't got a copy.
Yeah, just roll up a copy of, Mighty World of McCREA and just do the alien on them until they accept to hand over the cash.
But I read it very much as that entrepreneurial spirit that we talked about earlier, John. You seem to be one of those artists who was able to, and here's the word on everyone's lips from COVID, to pivot, if you like. And you seemed, from where I was standing, you seemed to be very sort of entrepreneurial in the way you were able to tackle the lockdown.
Well, yes. I mean, I think anybody who wasn't ready, I think people who just couldn't do anything but draw comics for whomever, quite a few of them were caught a bit short by the lockdown. I'm lucky in that I've got a good group of smart people around me, because producing something like a book, I would never have been able to do it in a million years without the team I had: Ryan Hughes, Kat Hemmings, Rachel. I got my brothers in to help me with sort of checking over and making sure all my T's were crossed and I's were dotted. And Laura Howell was my overall editor on the book. So without all those people sort of helping me out, the book would never have happened. And that's the thing, isn't it? This is what they always say, a smart businessman doesn't do it all himself. He hires clever people to do all the things he can't do. And that's me, you know. I mean, I think at the end of it, I maybe drew a couple of pages and then just sort of went, here you go. And everybody else went off and did all the hard work while I sort of sat around sort of sweating, I guess, or worrying, or, you know.
I totally empathise with that, to be honest, John, because it's the same. I totally empathise with that, John, because it's the same with me with ice, you know. A long time ago, I realised that you can't put a convention on your own. You know, you have to have people around you who know what they're doing and will put the work in. And, you know, I mean, I couldn't do it on my own. I really couldn't. I mean, some of the guys on this show, I mean, Ollie and Sam and Andy, who co-hosts on the other shows, they're worth their weight in gold, these guys.
Really are. I mean, it's madness to try and do anything like this on your own. It's just a quick way to a heart attack, honestly, you know. It's like, so, you know, I mean, it was stressful enough producing Mighty World of McCREA without having to add, you know, but without doing it on my own. I'd have lost all my hair. Oh shit! What the?
But obviously, Garth isn't the only writer you've worked with. You've also worked with Phil Hester on a couple of projects. Have you known Phil for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, Phil and I came together to work. It was Joe Pruitt who brought us together initially. I've known Joe, who used to publish his own stuff. He started out at
oh God, what was the name of that publisher?
Who published Dix originally?
Caliber, was it?
Thank you, Shane.
Wow,
Jesus,
that's a blast from the past.
Yeah,
Joe worked for Caliber, and you know, he knew a fair bunch of the Brummie guys. Mike Perkins worked with Joe at Caliber, and various other people, James as well. And I knew Joe, and Joe said, "I've got this fella who's a great writer," and of course I knew Phil through his art, but as it transpired, Phil's possibly a better writer than he is an artist, and you know, I love Phil's art, so you know, he's a tremendous writer, and he had this thing called The Atheist, and it's possible, I think it's my favorite thing that I've ever seen him write, and that's not because of me drawing it, it's because it is just a really cracking story. And it's in the first Mighty World of McCREA. So I've worked with Phil, but we've worked together we did a thing called War Paint for Strip magazine, which never got finished. We did a thing called Progenitor for David Lloyd's Aces Weekly, which unfortunately never got finished. And is there something else we did together that never got finished as well? I don't know. You know, I am the friggin' kiss of death as far as Phil's concerned. I mean, Mythic. We did Mythic together for Image.
Yeah.
And while it wrapped up in itself, those 8 or 9 issues, I can't remember now. While it wrapped up that storyline, it was meant to continue, but it did not.
That's a shame.
You know, it just, you know, there's a lot of product out there, and sometimes really good books just don't get the traction that maybe they should have. And I'm not necessarily talking about Mythic necessarily. It happens with a lot of books, good books, that just don't, for whatever reason, sort of just get to their audience. And Mythic was definitely.
But to prove you're not the kiss of death, of course, with Jerry Duggan, you're about to produce the second series of Dead Eyes, aren't you?
Yeah,
I know. I'm sure there's
after quite a long absence due to my kiss of death. Ollie.
Well, we're not going to talk about. Oh my God!
You can't show that.
Not that one.
Get
not
that
one.
off immediately. Kill it. No, honestly, you go. Oh, thank God. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to as Dead Eye, Sam, you doofus.
Yeah, we can't talk about that.
No.
Nor it's the thing that must not be mentioned.
How did you even get hold of that? I don't even know.
It'll be on the internet, won't it? Because everything's on the internet.
It's impossible. Oh yeah. I mean,
I was very shocked, John, to find a copy of issue 1 of that particular title in my local Oxfam, which is still a treasure trove of comics to this day. I'm amazed what turns up at that Oxfam, but I'm waiting for it to open up again because I know there's a comic in there that's shot up in value since One Division's been on, and at the moment it's only a £5.
Right, well, get in there, yes.
Not anymore, it isn't. They're watching this.
But was the second volume of Dead Eyes, did that come out of the frustration that COVID brought to people, or was that always something that you were planning to do anyway?
Oh no, we were planning. It's been planned. I mean, we're hoping to run. Well, I have no idea how many issues we're hoping to run. We just have to get on with it. But there are so many factors that have just troubled this whole thing. And none of which I can really talk about.
Well, it's all out on a lot of it's out there on the internet, isn't it, John? So you don't need to. No, what I'm saying is you don't need to talk about it. If people are interested, they can find it for yourself.
Yeah.
I don't want to get you into hot water. That's why I'm more interested in looking to the future and catching the dreams.
Sometimes there are projects, aren't there, that just get plagued, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know, whatever you do, they just. Something always seems to plague a certain project.
Yeah, the best thing you can do if you want one of those projects is hire me.
I need some strife in my life. I'm gonna have a job.
I heard John was the last person to see Jesus alive, if I'm honest. He was all right on the Friday.
He was doing fine. Yeah. You know what my middle name is? It's not Judas. It actually is.
I believe, because we're getting near to the end of the hour.
God, are we really?
I know. It's just.
I believe that Sam had some questions for you.
There we go.
I recognise that fella.
Yeah. So, if you want to come on, Sam, and ask John your questions, I think they're 2000 AD related.
No, well.
They haven't been vetted, so I blame everything what happens now on Sam.
Hello, Sam again.
Yay. You've let me out of my box.
Yes, temporarily until you do something stupid.
All right, let me just bring up a picture.
We should. Oh, right. There we go.
Ah, that's out this week.
John, it's your recent 2000 AD cover.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's last week, I think. Is that last week? Which one is it?
2224 issue.
Yeah, 224. Yeah,
Really
very
nice.
good.
Thank you, Shane.
Who's the colorist on that as well, John? Because the coloring is nice as well.
It's Enrica. God, don't ask me to pronounce her surname right now.
Keeps on putting you on the spot, doesn't he, John?
Oh, sorry, mate.
I'm so bad with names. I just am the worst guy ever as far as names go. Anyway, she colored a cover I did for Blade Runner for Titan, and she did a terrific job on that cover too. And so I sat beside her at a convention, and we got to chatting, and I saw her coloring work, and I was like, Christ, she's a good colorist. So I thought I'll just, if there's work going, I can fling her way.
Yeah, and there we are again with surrounding yourself with people who are good at what they do. That's the
yeah. She did a terrific job on it.
Anyway, Sam, sorry, carry on.
No, I do like the dog pooping itself as well.
Yes. I mean, that's sort of my tip of the hat to Bisley, really. And the Lobo dog, really. I mean, there was recently a few people have said, "Are you influenced by Simon Bisley?" And I just sort of go, "Well, who of my age in the comics industry isn't influenced by Simon in some way or other?" even if it's just having been beaten up by him or something. But, you know, or drunk under the table by him or whatever, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, when Simon arrived on the scene, it was like a bombshell going off, wasn't it? And so, you know, he still influences my work to this day. And obviously some of his influences are influences of mine as well, like Sienkiewicz and whatnot and guys like that. So, you know, and if you go way back to Troubled Souls, which you showed a page from, there's a couple of pages in there where I'm desperately trying to learn how to paint and sort of trying to rip off Bill Sienkiewicz and failing just so miserably. It's quite spectacular.
At least you got to go though, mate. Eh? That's
yeah.
It's big shoes to fill, isn't it? Go on, Sam. Sorry.
So I wondered, you recently did the werewolf story. You did the what if kind of werewolf story. Or,
yes. IDW.
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Brilliant. I wondered if there was any other stories you thought could get that treatment, like could be continued. I mean, personally, I would say, City of the Damned. I reckon City of the Damned could have the same treatment. But what do you think?
Well, yeah, I would definitely agree with City of the Damned, because it's one of those sort of stories that you can see that Wagner and Grant, and in fact, I think they've said it personally, that they just got fed up with the story, and it was like everybody just sort of woke up and it was all fixed type of ending. And so you could sort of take that and spin a slightly more satisfying ending to it, perhaps. But as far as that Cry of the Wolf, Howl of the Wolf thing went, I actually had a follow-up to it, all planned out. And unfortunately, it got nixed for reasons I just have no idea. But it was going to be great. I mean, it tied into the Judge Child, and I had trained it and all this sort of business. All my favorite characters, and of course Steve Dillon created Trapper Hag, and this was my whole tribute to Steve anyway. And so I wanted to get Trapper Hag in there, and I had I thought it was quite a clever twist ending with Hag and the werewolf and the Grunwalder and the Judge Child and all that sort of stuff. But it didn't come to pass. But so and it had the Angel Gang in it too. I mean, I just I took everything. It had a sink. It had a kitchen sink too. It had them all. And so, and I thought it was a nice little story, and that sort of encapsulated everything. I think it probably was going to be 2 issues or maybe 40 pages, the way I was going, but it never happened. But yeah, I'd imagine there's an absolute crapload of them, quite frankly, that, you could look at it and go, this could be fun if we could have just taken it in another direction or what have you. I just obviously can't think of any right at this particular minute.
Too many to choose from. It's huge back catalogue.
Sure.
I also loved the last big work you did in 2018, Harvey. Basically, it was the Machismo story.
Yep.
It didn't have like the robots eventually being, going mad and
evil,
and freaking out.
Robots always go evil, don't they?
You really did. It was a great story.
I really enjoy. Well, I really enjoyed that. I'm quite good friends with John Wagner, and I've known him since obviously the magazine was started, and I did Chopper with Garth for the magazine, and John wanted us specifically on the book, and which was lovely, and and John doesn't live far from me, and I would go up and see him fairly regularly, and I realized one day that I'd never drawn a Dread story that was written by Wagner, and I went up to his house one time and just said to him, John, if I die not having drawn a Wagner Dread, I will be really pissed off. I'll come back and haunt you or something. So he said, "Well, we'll have to see about that." And that was my Steve Dillon voice. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, we did that. We actually did Shooters Night before Harvey, which was a 3 or 4 part Dread story a couple of years before Harvey, and then John was reasonably happy with what I did on that, and then Mechanismo, and Harvey is actually named after my youngest, who is called Harvey, strangely, and John said, I'll name the main judge after your youngest because he's got the right name for the droid. So that was nice that cool. I've got that. Harvey's got that little thing. But yeah, it was great fun to draw.
Did you have anything? Any more stuff in 2018 coming out?
Have I got anything more for 2000? No. That cover was the last thing I did. I'm always happy to work for 2000. And when the Harvey story was coming out, Pat Mills was Facebook messaged me and said he was really enjoying what I was doing with that, and he said, "Is there anything you'd like to do in 2000 with me?" And I said, without thinking or without blinking, was ABC Warriors. ABC Warriors, please the ABC Warriors. Cool. And Pat said, "Well, unfortunately, Simon Bisley, Kurt bloody Simon again, Simon Bisley is drawing a Joe Pineapples story at the moment, and Matt Smith would not pay for or get another story going until Simon had finished that one." There's an easier way to say that, but my mind just switched off. Actually, my mind never switches on. So that was a bit nixed by that. Now I believe Pat has kind of left 2000 anyway.
I know that he said the story is going to be the last ones of those characters. It's like a gentleman's agreement, isn't it? No more slain.
Yes, much like Marvel's gentleman's agreement with Frank Miller about Elektra, I would imagine. Well, that gentleman's agreement will probably carry on for a couple of years until they go, "Oh, we could do with some money." More money.
It's like Watchmen at DC, isn't it?
Well, it's a company. It's a company. I hope, I kind of hope that they will actually honor Pat's agreement, but then another part of me hopes they won't, so that I can draw the ABC Warriors.
There is that, isn't there?
Because I'm a selfish bastard, quite frankly. There you go. Okay.
So we've had a comment from Kevin. Would love to get John into a Wasteland Chronicles if John is interested in a apocalyptic Mad Max world. So we've got people pitching you now, John, on the show.
Yeah, well, honestly, Kevin, I'm often up for doing a cover. So if you want to Facebook message me about doing a cover at some point for you, whatever, as long as you don't mind paying me. That's,
I know that
struggling artist here.
PJ Holden has done some, but yeah, PJ did some work with those guys.
All right, okay, yeah. Well, I love PJ stuff. Oh no, what have I drawn?
It's lovely sketch.
I recognize that fella. Yes, that was. That was done while I was drunk. I can tell.
Yeah, because I had to colour in the glasses properly and the.
Did you really? Yeah, oh my God!
Look, you finished it. Oh my God, that's so cheeky. I would have finished off the drawing that's been done for me. I actually have a sketch of yours.
Honestly, I think you've improved it. Yeah, you probably improved it, Sam. So nice one.
I think we lost Ollie. We always lose Ollie.
No problem, Sam. Good chatting with you. Take it easy.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Back in You could, mate.
Wow.
Thanks a lot.
We're losing everybody.
I've actually got a sketch from as well. It was a Jenny Spark. When we met in, I think it was at Wolverhampton at a little thing, at the little cinema thing. And at the time, I think I was a big fan of, what Mark Miller was doing, with
Sure,
with all of that stuff.
Sure.
And
well, we all were.
Yeah, and
I mean,
well, it was good stuff, wasn't it? It was good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy that book,
Mark.
That you did with it was Mark and James who inked it as well, didn't they?
Yes.
The Jenny Spark story. That was fun. That was really good stuff.
Yeah, my favorite.
So we've lost,
I think my favorite.
Carry on, mate.
We've lost everybody, have we? Can you still hear me, Shane?
I can hear you. Yeah. We'll carry on without them.
Fine. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, we didn't need those guys anyway. So I think my favorite story from that Jenny Sparks time is when Mark came down to Birmingham to sign at Nostalgia, and so James, Mark, and I trundle up to Nostalgia to sign, and we set up we have our table set up just in the doorway, and no one showed up.
No way.
Absolutely a duck's egg of people showed up. Well, actually, I lie. One person showed up. He sort of came in the door, saw the three of us sitting there waiting for somebody with kind of, I guess maybe by that point we had desperate looks in our eyes or something, and he ran back out the door again. And that was our one guy. So what was I saying about not working with me? Oh no, that's not fair.
You're right. Neil's a viewer, so if you're out there, Neil, you know what I mean.
I don't think it was Neil, though.
No. Okay. Maybe it was Jatinder. I don't know.
Oh, no, it wasn't Jatinder. No. No, definitely not. No. Yeah, but Mark, James, and I went to the pub after that and got pissed because, what can you do after a remarkable 0 people showing up for your signing? I mean, Jesus, it was Mark Miller.
Yeah. He wasn't such a big man, was he? I suppose.
No, not. But he was still a pretty well-known guy by that point. Yeah. And I mean, no disrespect to myself and James, but we're not exactly shit, But I guess I think it's possibly something about doing signings in your own hometown or what have you, where people are just like, it's just that guy. Sure, he lives here. What the I care? So I think we jinxed Mark. Anyway, whatever.
They're off on his own.
Yeah. Oh, sure. He had a big queue of people at the last signing he did in Birmingham. Yeah. Big queue. Yeah. It took me ages to queue up for him.
You had to queue as well.
Nah, they did let me to the front to see him, but I had to bribe a couple of people. So I
remember one of his guys. I think it was someone who was handling him at the time. Me and James Hodgkins were at I think it was Thought Bubble, and James wanted to chat with Mark just about something. I can't remember what it was. And the guy handling the queue was like, no, you can't talk to him. You've got to wait. He's like, I just want to talk. I know Mark, a friend of mine. And this guy was like, yeah, they all say that. Go on, get out of here.
What can you do? When you become an international sort of megastar, then, you're going to have bodyguards and handlers and all this sort of shit, But Mark is still the most down-to-earth guy, He's still completely regular multi-millionaire.
I think he's pretty grounded, isn't he? A lot.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean, I'm merely jesting. He is a very down-to-earth chap. I do love Mark.
I think we might have Ollie back just in time to say good night.
It's always me this is the problem with Safari, John. It always kicks me out at some point or other.
Is anybody on Safari anymore?
Well, not for this. This is Chrome, but for some reason,
Right.
I made sure everything was shut down, but I think it's because I've got other windows open. But I'm just glad to be back, even if it's just to say goodbye to you.
Oh.
Well, we still haven't managed to talk about the thing that I was meant to be talking about.
Yeah.
talking about the Blondie book. We've just talked about everything else. Well, as you said earlier, John, you can't share any artwork because it's a little bit early to share artwork from the book.
Yes,
but we can talk about the book, can't we? Because it's coming out now.
Yes.
Well, I've got some cover art that's on the internet. Is that okay to show?
Oh, sure. You can show the cover art by Amanda. Yeah. Well, Amanda's amazing, and of course she's co-writing it with Jimmy. And I don't know, Amanda and Jimmy are just two of the nicest people in comics ever.
Yeah.
So it's always a pleasure to work with them, and just as an excuse to hang around with them as well. But obviously, being a huge Blondie fan, I also am quite excited from that perspective. I mean, I'm also very nervous about it because likenesses aren't necessarily my strong point, and so I'm having to work pretty hard just to try and get it so that it's reasonable and people recognize the characters as who they're meant to be. But the whole book is like the start of Blondie, and they're sort of rise up from the early days up to sort of major fame and fortune. So we're focusing generally. I mean, Jimmy wants it to really have a sort of a grimy, seedy New York in the 70s underbelly, the sort of New York that Jimmy knew and grew up with.
Wow.
And so that's what he's after. And I mean, I've been to CBGB's in my time. Used to go there with Evan Dorgan. I used to go there with Evan Dorgan on occasion.
Really?
Yeah.
What sort of band? I mean, obviously being a big punker myself, what bands did you ever get to see there then, John?
Never saw any bands.
Oh, really?
We just went in for the piss up and played pinball. I mean, did see one of the Ramones in there one time across the room.
Really?
But the place was pretty crowded, so that was cool. I mean, didn't go up to him and shake his hand or anything.
I was going to say, was that a live Ramone, or was that a live Ramone or an apparition?
I couldn't comment on that at all. I mean, but yeah, I mean, it was an exciting place to be.
I can imagine,
because you knew the history of the place. But of course, this was late on towards the end. That whole area, you could see the sort of gentrification starting to take hold. Blondie. I remember buying my first Blondie album, Parallel Lines, from Good Vibrations. So all the ways back, just to bring a big circle to the story.
Yeah. It's almost if you planned it this way.
I'm just a pretty face.
Band they were.
So it's quite exciting because obviously I've been vetted by the group as well.
Wow.
And I think there was a certain amount of uncertainty as to whether I could do or what sort of job I would do on it, because obviously it's a big thing for them. And so I did a bit of drawing, some Blondie drawings, and sent them to them, and they were like, "Okay, you've got the job." So that was nice. So that was nice.
Yeah.
You got a. So yes, and it's exciting and intimidating because the band looking at every page that's coming in, and so you're sweating. I'm sweating bullets, really. And anything with likenesses is always tricky, and especially when the people are involved, because you just don't want to do them any disservices. And
it's hard, isn't it? Because likeness can sometimes mean a little bit of caricature in a comic, and some people.
Oh God, yes, and I'm hoping. Yeah, and I'm hoping that they're not too against the idea of it being.
Seeing it as well. How many pages is the book going to be?
Well, it's a big book. I'm doing the main story in it, which is the biography part of it, which is 80 pages, and then there are a bunch of backup stories, which are more sort of stories based on songs, and it's done by a variety of different artists, some pretty high profile, I think, and of course. just off the top of my head, I cannot remember anyone who's working on the goddamn book.
Oh, John, you could have covered it up by saying I'm not allowed to say. That's what you should have said.
But you can't remember. You're not allowed to say. That's a good one.
Shit.
Remember that.
You're right, Ollie. Thanks. Damn. You're gonna be my PR guy, Ollie. Yeah. So you can be my handler. You know, shut it. Keep back, Shane. He's not allowed to say. Just back off, man.
I think I'm one of the only people taller than you, John. So it just about work.
One of the only people.
Well, you're quite tall, I think.
I'm like slightly under 6 foot, but
that's quite tall by average standards, I think.
I suppose it is, but my youngest brother is probably slightly taller than you, Ollie. So I'm fairly used to sort of staring up at people, you know. So it's especially when he's threatening me. So you know, draw better, John, is often or I'll come around to your house and give you a fucking hiding. Is often to be what he says to me.
He loves it.
Yeah, bless him. Yeah, it is. It's tough love, and sometimes it works. I have improved everything over the years, and some of that's fear.
Fear is a great motivator.
It really is. It really is. That's how I brought my kids up.
So we're coming to the end. We've gone well over the hour, actually, but it's been good fun, mate. If people
get much common sense in.
Or
Sorry, say that again, Shane.
If people want to get a commission from you or anything like that, how do they find you online?
Oh, well, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. My Twitter handle's at McCREA Man, and my Instagram's McCREA Man1, and Facebook I think is just me. And I'm a little busy at the moment though, so I'm not really taking on too many commissions, but I've got a lot of artwork to flog. Yeah. So you know that I find down the back of my sofa. So if anybody's interested in some of that, I could shell it their way. I mean, like I said, I've just done that Carnage job for Marvel, which was super fun and great to work with Al Ewing again.
Yeah.
Al's like so good, such a great writer.
Get Al
ridiculous.
On, actually, I keep meaning to ask Al onto the show.
He's cool stuff. And he's a funny guy. He's
very dry, yeah.
It's like a desert. Like
he really is.
I used to think Al hated me, but now I've since come to realize that it was just Al's approach to life that's more the thing, and he's just extremely dry. Yeah, it's just so anyway. Yeah, you know, if you want to get in contact with me, I'm very approachable.
Easily available. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Which doesn't smack of desperation, I hope, at all.
Not at all.
No, you're one of those approachable creators online. Now, there's so many are, John, but you are one of those people who will interact, will sort of retweet, will talk, and I think that's great. And I think that's a great thing about the comic book industry in general. It is so full of. You yourself have said, you started off a fan, you still are a fan. There are still those sort of gulp out moments, I dare say, with different people you're working with. And, it's wonderful that those of us from the fan point of view do get those opportunities to talk to people, whether it's through social media or through podcasts like this, or even at the fingers crossed conventions later on in the year.
We shall see. I've signed up for Thought Bubble. So
yeah, I've got my hotel booked. So I think even if it doesn't go ahead, I've got my hotel booked, so I'm still going up there.
You're going to go anyway.
Harrogate, whatever.
Just go to the big Harrogate hotel and just sit in the bar.
Yeah, or the toilet.
Imagine everyone else there.
It'll be a good
I discovered the Cold Bath Brewery bar that was doing the beers, the special Wicked and Divine beers last year. I got talking to the owners there, and they were really nice guys, family-owned business. So I'll spend a weekend just sitting in the Cold Bath Brewery bar. I'll quite happily do it on my own.
That's anything just getting out of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
going somewhere new.
Going somewhere different. Yeah, definitely.
It'll be quite the thing when it happens.
Yeah.
So
lot of sore heads, I imagine.
Yeah. I haven't. I've not been much of a drinker over through the pandemic. So yes, I'll be absolutely a cheap date for anyone. Yeah.
I'm the same.
Watch out, Harrogate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm drinking over the pandemic, actually. Yeah, not hardly drunk anything, which isn't a bad thing, I suppose. So, thank you, John, for tonight. I've really
it's been great.
Thanks for asking me on, Shane. Cheers,
awesome.
Ollie.
It's been a nice career retrospect.